Lovely. So welcome everybody. Let's begin with the Sufi invocation of Hazrat Inayat Khan. Let's say it 3 times. Towards the One, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Towards the One, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Towards the One, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We begin in the name of Allah, who is infinite love. So, yes, welcome to you all. So I have a theme today, which I drew both from today's bowl of sake, Inayat Khan's phrase of the day, if you like, but it connected. When I read it, I thought, oh yes, that connected me with something I was reading last week in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which I was reading from last week. So it connected with another piece, which I was also wanting to share. So that was thinking, right, well, I better share it then. And the saying or the phrase from Inayat Khan today, February the 25th, which also happens to be my departed father's birthday, would have been 97 today, but he didn't quite make it. So I'm thinking of him smiling down on me. So this is the words of Inayat Khan. The one who has failed self has failed all. The one who has conquered self has won all. And the meaning of that may not be entirely clear, especially the bit about failing self. And so Murshid S.A.M gives a very nice commentary on this, which I will read. Failure is due to the domination of the false self. The false self being the personality, if we over-identify with that being our entire being. Failure is due to the domination of the false self. It alone puts out the thought of failure, of weakness, of limitation. It is not capable of sustaining concentration or effort. When one has controlled this self and its passions, and especially when one has performed the spiritual practices which link one to God, the true self, one has conquered this false lower self. This is the great victory of life. All other victories are unimportant in comparison with it and not essential to mundane existence. Once the nufs is mastered, so here he's using the word nufs as a reference to the false self. Once the nufs is mastered, the key to every success is at hand. That's a promise, isn't it? Not to be ignored. This is conveyed in the allegory of the thief of Baghdad. I don't actually know this allegory. I'd have to go and look it up, and I didn't have time. So perhaps I'll read that again, because I do think it's really important. Failure is due to the domination of the false self. It alone puts out the thought of failure, of weakness, of limitation. And I'm just thinking about the emphasis of there. Maybe alone should be emphasized more, because when we're identified with the small self, with the personality, we are very much seeing ourselves as alone and separate from other people and from the power in the universe. It alone puts out the thought of failure, of weakness, of limitation. It is not capable of sustaining concentration or effort. When one has controlled this self and its passions, and especially when one has performed the spiritual practices which link one to God, the true self, one has conquered this false lower self. This is the great victory of life. This is the great victory of life. All other victories are unimportant in comparison with it and not essential to mundane existence. It's a wonderful sentence. All other victories are unimportant in comparison with it and not essential to mundane existence. Once the nufs is mastered, the key to every success is at hand. Whoa, I can just feel the power of those words, reading them out to you. So I'm not going to read the excerpt from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance just yet. Let's do a song and a dance. So this is one of my favourites. Sat Narayan Wahe Guru, Hare Narayan Satnam. Sat Narayan, Wahe Guru, Hare Narayan, Satnam. So this is, it's Sanskrit, but it's a mantra that's used in the Sikh tradition. And the first part of it, Sat Narayan Wahe Guru, can be translated as true sustainer, indescribable wisdom. Truth is the name of God. True sustainer, indescribable wisdom. Truth is the name of God. So I particularly like this Wahe Guru. Wah is like this exclamation of wonder, of excitement, wonder, of knowing. Wah. Guru, teacher, guide, wisdom. Sat Narayan Wahe Guru, Hare Narayan Satnam. Sat Narayan Wahe Guru, Hare Narayan Satnam. Sat Narayan Wahe Guru, Hare Narayan Satnam. Satnarayan Waheguru Hare Narayan Satnam. Satnam, 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 Satnam. Satnam, 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 Satnam. So the reason for choosing this particular dance is a lot to do with the movements and the way that the originator, which is Narayan, teaches it. He's really talking about, you can't really see my feet unfortunately because they're quite important, but when we're stepping, we imagine that we're stepping and just gently stepping on our small self, the full self down there lying on the floor, and we're just stepping on it and just reminding it that we're here, we're identified with the greater being, and the smaller being is down there in service to us or just being kept in its place. And he was really thinking of Nataraja, of Shiva Nataraja, when he kind of brought through this dance. And you can see there's Shiva standing on the small self there, keeping it in its place. We can be kind about treading on the small self. We don't have to be unpleasant and sort of stamp on it too much. We can just be lovingly compassionate, but just keep it there. So I don't know if any of you are going to stand up like, oh, Jill's standing up, brilliant. So we step, we're kind of crossing our foot across in front of the other one. You probably can't see very well, but we just cross one leg in front of the other one and just tap it on the floor. We're not putting our weight on it, we're just tapping it. And imagine that we're just tapping that lower self there. So and we raise our arms every time we step across. Satnarayan Waheguru Hare Narayan Satnam. 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 And then on just the Satnams, we're going to do rowing. So stepping forward on the right, back on the left, just swinging backwards and forwards, doing a rowing motion with our arms. So down and forwards, then up and backwards. Satanam, 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 Satanam. Satanam, 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 Satanam. Great. So start with stepping and just tapping, or crossing and tapping. Satnarayan Waheguru Hare Narayan Satnam. 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 Satnam, 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 Satnam. Satnam, 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 Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, 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 Satnarayan, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, 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 Satnarayan, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, 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 Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam, Satnarayan, Waheguru, Harinarayan, Satnam. Wah! Wah! Indescribable wisdom. So I'm going to read you this excerpt from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it's quite a long bit, but I think it's rather good. And it illustrates this quite nicely, this issue of really when we act from the small self as opposed to from a greater connection with existence, however you want to call that. So the main character who's narrating the whole book, he's a man, he's got a son, he's a philosopher, he's also a motorcycle enthusiast, and he's travelling through the United States with his son, and he's currently in this bit, he's climbing a mountain with his son, who's only about 11 or something like that. Up ahead, all of Chris's movements seem tired and angry. So this is his son, Chris. He stumbles on things, lets branches tear at him instead of pulling them to one side. I'm sorry to see this. Some blame can be put on the YMCA camp he attended for 2 weeks just before we started. From what he's told me, they made a big ego thing out of the whole outdoor experience, a proof of manhood thing. He began in a lowly class they were careful to point out was rather disgraceful to be in. Then he was allowed to prove himself with a long series of accomplishments. Swimming, rope tying. He mentioned a dozen of them and I've forgotten them. It made the kids at camp much more enthusiastic and cooperative when they had ego goals to fulfill, I'm sure. But ultimately, that kind of motivation is destructive. Any effort that has self-glorification as its final endpoint is bound to end in disaster. Now we're paying the price. When you try to climb a mountain to prove how big you are, you almost never make it. And even if you do, it's a hollow victory. In order to sustain the victory, you have to prove yourself again and again in some other way, and again and again and again, driven forever to fill a false image, haunted by the fear that the image is not true, and someone will find out. That's never the way. And just to pause in the story a minute, it reminds me of a trip to Coniston a year or two ago. Some of you may have heard of Donald Campbell, who was trying to break the water speed record with a very, very fast boat on Coniston Water, and he sadly died in his obviously final attempt to do that. And there's a museum in Coniston all about it, and when one visits the museum, one sees that he was trapped in this, from my point of view, he was trapped in this particular phenomenon where there was nowhere to go, only to try and beat the last record. And he pushed the boat too far, too fast, and it flipped up, crashed, and he was killed. So back to the story. He refers to himself in the past, the writer, as Phaedrus, which I won't go into the reasons for that now. But he's really referring to himself. He wrote a letter from India about a pilgrimage to holy Mount Kailash, the source of the Ganges and the abode of Shiva, high in the Himalayas, in the company of a holy man and his adherents. So in some years ago, when he was younger, he'd spent some time in India. And he's referring to himself in the third person. He never reached the mountain on this pilgrimage. After the third day, he gave up, exhausted, and the pilgrimage went on without him. He said he had the physical strength, but that physical strength wasn't enough. He had the intellectual motivation, but that wasn't enough either. He didn't think he'd been arrogant, but thought that he was undertaking the pilgrimage to broaden his experience, to gain understanding for himself. He was trying to use the mountain for his own purposes, and the pilgrimage too. He regarded himself as the fixed entity, not the pilgrimage or the mountain, and thus wasn't ready for it. He speculated that the other pilgrims, the ones who reached the mountain, probably sensed the holiness of the mountain so intensely that each footstep was an act of devotion, an act of submission to this holiness. The holiness of the mountain, infused into their own spirits, enabled them to endure far more than anything he, with his greater physical strength, could take. To the untrained eye, ego climbing and selfless climbing may appear identical. Both kinds of climbers place one foot in front of the other. Both breathe in and out at the same rate. Both stop when tired. Both go forward when rested. But what a difference! The ego climber is like an instrument that's out of adjustment. And he uses the male pronoun here, so I'll apologise for that. He puts his foot down an instant too soon or too late. He's likely to miss a beautiful passage of sunlight through the trees. He goes on when the sloppiness of his step shows he's tired. He rests at odd times. He looks up the trail, seeing what's ahead when he knows what's ahead, because he just looked a second before. He goes too fast or too slow for the conditions. And when he talks, his talk is forever about somewhere else, something else. He's here, but he's not here. He rejects the here, is unhappy with it, wants to be further up the trail. But when he gets there, we'll be just as unhappy, because then it will be here. What he's looking for, what he wants is all around him, but he doesn't want that because it is all around him. Every step's an effort, both physically and spiritually, because he imagines his goal to be external and distant. So I think that's a beautiful passage. Really, we can learn so much from it in terms of our journey through life. And it reminds me, I've had fun this evening, it reminds me of a cartoon which somebody once gave to me on a greetings card, which I've found. And I will just see if I can find the sharing button. Here it is. Can you see that? So I like that one. It's reminding me to enjoy the moment and the journey rather than the destination. So I thought we could have another song and a dance. I think we'll have this one. So this is using Arabic, some of the beautiful names of Allah. Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen. Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen. So ya Qadir is like the divine will working through us. Very powerful mantra. Ya Qadir, Ya Qadir. In fact, we'll do that in a bit. And Ya Mateen is like steadiness, the one who is steady, rhythmic, just keeps going through the regular step, through the rhythm. And Muqtadir is the one who, I might have to look it up actually, but I think it's about basically manifesting one's soul's purpose. But I didn't open the book beforehand. It's about manifesting one's particular path. Yes, Al-Muqtadir is the one who places you on a particular path to God and enables you to put your feet on that path and keep going step by step. It brings the ability to actualize the divine purpose in your life. So I guess it's about us aligning with our own particular divine purpose. So we are aligning with God, with the divine flow. And I was thinking about what is the difference between, when we are coming from a place of our small personality, perhaps more isolated in a sense of our own personal goals, like climbing the mountain or trying to beat the water speed record, and when we are doing something really to serve the greater purpose. And I just wrote this down: the self that serves the self, the self that serves itself, or the self that serves the divine flow, the greater self. And sometimes people talk about destroying the ego, and I don't think we can, but I think we can put it in service to the greater being, the flow, the greater flow of the universe. Let it flow through us, and then we will joyfully find things lining up in life for us. And that experience that Murshid S.A.M is describing, this is the great victory of life. All other victories are unimportant in comparison with it and not essential to mundane existence. I love that sentence. The key to every success is at hand once the nufs is mastered. Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen, O Allah Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen, O Allah Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen, O Allah, 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 Allahu Allah, 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 Allahu Allah, 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 Allahu Allah, Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen, O Allah Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen, O Allah Muqtadir ya Qadir ya Mateen, O Allah, 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 Allahu Allah, 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 Allahu Allah, Allah. And there's a real sense of rhythm in this one. We just keep going. And there's a power in that. We can tap into that power. I guess Yaqada, Yamateen, Muqtadi, all of that contains the power of the divine will working through us, the strength that it gives us to keep going. And imagine we're stepping, we're walking to the right if we were all dancing together, holding hands. and then we're bowing. So on mateen we stop and we bow. So muqtadiya kariya mateen huala. So on a teen the right foot stops and the left foot comes to touch and join it. And then we bow. Muqtadiya kariya mateen huala muqtadiya kariya mateen huala. 3 times. Muqtadiya kariya mateen huala. Allah, Allah, Allahu Allah. And we're walking in and out. 4 steps, I think. Allah, Allah, Allahu Allah. Allah, Allah, Allahu Allah. It's quite a joyful movement, this one. We're just stepping in and we're swinging backwards and forwards like this, side to side. Allah, Allah, Allahu Allah. Allah, Allah, Allahu Allah. Allah, Allah, Allahu Allah. Muqtadiya kariya mateen huala muqtadiya kariya mateen huala muqtadiya kariya mateen huala muqtadiya kariya mateen huala. Allah, with this. Allah Hu. Ameen. So let's recite Yakada, Yakada. This divine will, divine power that can flow through us. You could say it is flowing through us. We just need to realize it and align with it. Yakada, Yakada. It's like from the back of the throat. It's spelt with a Q. Yakada. 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 And then just taking it onto the breath, so keeping your concentration on that word, on your breath. Breathing in Qadir, breathing out Qadir. And if you find your mind wandering off, just bring it back. That's fine, that's just what the mind does. The idea is to keep and hold that energy, that vibration, that word on the breath for a while. And then just letting go of the word, just holding the vibration, the energy of it that you've discovered, the feeling of it as you breathe it in and breathe it out. I keep on wanting to read out this passage by Samuel Lewis. Failure is due to the domination of the false self. It alone puts out the thought of failure, of weakness, of limitation. It is not capable of sustaining concentration or effort. When one has controlled this self and its passions, and especially when one has performed the spiritual practices which link one to God, the true self, one has conquered this false lower self. This is the great victory of life. Those words, "this is a great victory of life," remind me of the translation of the what's it called? Anyway, the great mantra Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. One translation is, Om, O Ram, who is both truth and power, seen and unseen, manifest and unmanifest, victory to thee, victory to thee. So when we align with our being, with the true self, this is the great victory of life. All other victories are unimportant in comparison with it and not essential to mundane existence. So I'm going to sing another song. This one is taking words from one of the prayers of Hazrat Inayat Khan, that is S.A.M or S.A.M, which we will end with this evening. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. And then there's a word in Hebrew, Hineni, Hineni. I am here. Use me for the purpose. Hineni. So again, we're setting the intention of aligning ourself, our being, with the divine purpose. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. Hineni, 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 Hineni. Sing with me. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooses. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. Hineni, 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 Hineni. So we're walking to the right and then to the left, turning to the right and then to the left. So when we're walking, we're going to be, when we stop and we lean upwards with our heart towards the divine, yearning with our heart towards this great truth. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. So one wisdom, we stop and we lean upwards with our heart. And you can do that with your arms because you're not holding anyone's hands, unless you're lucky enough to be in the same room as somebody else. So, use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth. And then as we turn to the right, we are calling out Hineni. Here I am. First time hands up towards the heavens, second time hands on the heart, third time hands to the earth. Hineni, 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 and then back the other way. Hineni, 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 here I am, use me. So it's Hineni, 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 Hineni. So, stepping to the right, use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooses. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooses. Apologies there, I hadn't quite learned the chords. So I think we're going to finish with a beautiful chant, a song in Sanskrit, which Jelani kind of brought through. Now I can't remember the movements, so I think we'll just sing it. And I don't have access to her at this present time, because I tried, but she's too busy doing something else in Tangiers, I think, right now, probably leading a dance circle. But, so the words are Tat Vam Asi. Tat Vam Asi. That's the main mantra, but there's a few other words as well. It's in the wrong side of my brain. I am Atma Satya. I am Atma Bhakti. I am Atma Shanti. Shanti Om Siddhi. I think I'll just put it in the chat. And the translation is, this being is truth, this being is love, this being is peace. Peace, Om, so be it, thou art that. So I put it in the chat. Thou art that. This is your true nature at your core. I am Atma Satya. I am Atma Bhakti. Atma Shanti, Shanti Om Siddhi. Let's sing that together. I am Atma Satya. I am Atma Bhakti. Atma Shanti, peace. Shanti Om Siddhi. Listen. Alta Tatvamasi. And I invite you now to look at each other on the screen. Thou art that. Tatvamasi. So let's recite the prayer, Psalm, which I've put on the screen there. Praise be to thee, most supreme God, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-pervading, the only being. Take us in thy parental arms. Raise us from the denseness of the earth. Thy beauty do we worship. To thee do we give willing surrender. Most merciful and compassionate God, the idealized Lord of the whole humanity, thee only do we worship, and towards thee alone we aspire. Open our hearts towards thy beauty. Illuminate our souls with divine light. O thou, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, all-powerful creator, sustainer, judge and forgiver of our shortcomings, Lord God of the East and of the West, of the worlds above and below, and of the seen and unseen beings, pour upon us thy love and thy light. Give sustenance to our bodies, hearts, and souls. Use us for the purpose that thy wisdom chooseth, and guide us on the path of thine own goodness. Draw us closer to thee every moment of our lives, until in us be reflected thy grace, thy glory, thy wisdom, thy joy, and thy peace. Amen. And let's just finish by singing together, may all beings be well, may all beings be happy, peace, peace, peace. So if any benefit should accrue from what we have done today, may it be for the benefit of all beings. May the light of God be reflected in our lives, in all our dealings with all beings. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. Peace, peace, peace. So may it be. Amen.